Alrighty, and we are live.
Live
Hello,
again.
everybody, and welcome to another Let's Talk Movies. And today, we are so excited to talk about X-Men Dark Phoenix. Actually, it's not even X-Men Dark Phoenix. It's just Dark Phoenix.
Well, I mean, like in the opening title, it was like X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So just to preface this, I kind of went off on Twitter after I saw this movie.
Oh,
so
you went the fuck off.
I'm gonna read those tweets just to let you know what you guys are in for, in case you aren't following me on Twitter. But yeah, okay. Which is the first one? This is the first one.
Yeah, just
okay.
a whole thread.
So it's 3 tweets. So tweet number 1. There's gonna be a video talking about it, which you're watching now.
Wow.
But holy shit, Dark Phoenix. What a hot mess. I'd say the film was rushing, but that implies something happens. I didn't think that I would see a movie that would make me want to watch Last Stand for a better Dark Phoenix movie. And tweet number 2.
Yeah.
J-Law did not give a crap. McAvoy and Turner were given nothing to work with, and Fassbender as Magneto was the only cool character. There was a Steppenwolf level bad villain, a fight scene that had the potential to be good, but wasn't, and Professor X was for no reason at all a total dick for half the movie.
Oh god, I can't wait to get into that.
Character moments were not at all earned, and the only part I enjoyed was about 30 seconds between Jean and Professor X. Boy, am I going to have fun with the video that we're shooting currently. So yeah, those are the 3 tweets that I posted. And also, I saw this movie after like a busy day. I was doing stuff, and I knew that like I didn't want to go see this movie in the morning because I wanted to be productive during my days, and it was at like 9 o'clock, and I was like, I'm not doing anything next 2 hours. And I pulled out my phone, bought tickets. I bought IMAX tickets.
Why?
Because those were the only screenings that I could have time for. That wasn't like, hey, see it at 11. Well, I want to see it now. So I saw this movie in IMAX.
You paid so much money.
Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, nothing about it was worthy of IMAX. Not a single shot.
Not a, like, for a movie with $200 million put into it, there is not a single frame that is like, that's genuinely visually impressive. That's
it's like, it was like, just the only difference they did with IMAX is like, hey, can you stretch it out a little bit? Yeah, right there. Awesome. Okay, calling it IMAX.
Can you also bass boost the sound like a little bit?
Yeah, the sound was just nothing impressive at all.
Yeah, like, and that's fucking so disappointing because, like, the X-Men has had some interesting sound design in the future, and like in the past films, like especially like I really love the sound effects that they had for like Nightcrawler and like that sort of thing, kind of almost like sort of like the design of like Harry Potter sound effects where it's like has a very poofy sound, but it's like it's very fitting for like the look.
Yeah.
But yeah, and here you got. There was sound design, I guess.
If you even can call it that. But anyway, also, I guess I don't really know where we should start, but I think a decent place to kind of, before we totally jump in, is that we're just talking about, you have not seen Apocalypse, which is the previous X-Men movie before this.
I have seen every single X-Men film besides Apocalypse. I don't remember why I didn't get around to watching it, but yeah. Yeah,
Apocalypse, in my opinion, there are some people who really don't like it. I thought it was fine. It wasn't incredible. My biggest problem with it, I'd have to say, would be kind of like the pacing of it. There was a lot of build-up to Apocalypse. And like, oh my god, he's so powerful. And then there's just kind of the one fight scene at the end where it's like, oh, and they beat him.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's anticlimactic to a T.
Yeah, but it wasn't bad. It was just kind of there. It was fine, is really what it was.
Yeah. Did it at least seem to serve a story purpose, or was it kind of...
It was more so just the idea of Apocalypse.
Okay.
The story, it was more so that kind of comic booky thing of, how do we transfer this to a movie? I don't know, just take parts comic book fans will like, and we'll just try and string a story through it. So literally, it starts out with a researcher finding Apocalypse. He comes back to life. It's kind of like the whole shit, and Xavier's like, I sense a powerful mutant has a way, like that kind of shit. And then it's
like an Obi-Wan thing.
He assembles. Oh, I'll say Magneto was awesome in that movie, which I really like Fassbender's Magneto. And like the nice thing about that movie, which I actually forgot, was that Magneto in the beginning of the movie is basically retired.
Yeah.
He's doing Xavier's dream for mutants, and he's working at a metal factory.
Yeah.
but not using his powers. He's just an ordinary guy. No one else knows he's a mutant. He has a fake name because after Days of Future Past, he's obviously like the biggest terrorist on the planet.
Basically, yeah.
So he's living. He has a fake name. Guy's like, "Hey Bob, how you doing?" And Magneto's like, "Oh, good. How about you, Fred?" Just like doing his normal
God, I hate these people.
construction factory job. He goes home. He has a wife and a daughter, I believe.
So basically, he's just become like, I'm literally just gonna suppress this whole mutant part of me for as much as I can, and just be normal guy.
I believe it's because of Apocalypse's awakening. It is. Okay, so Apocalypse wakes up and it basically earthquake throughout the planet.
Oh, okay,
and Magneto's working at the factory, and then this big kind of tub of like molten material begins to fall on one of the factory workers, and Magneto catches it.
Oh, and
reveals that he's Magneto.
And
so he goes home. FBI people come there, and they accidentally kill his daughter and wife.
Oh shit!
So Magneto I think what it is he literally, his daughter had like a pen or something or necklace. It was his daughter's necklace that he gave to her the night before she died. That just goes up and through the throat of every person there.
Oh shit! So kind of that makes me think of freaking Yondu.
Yeah, it was very Yondu, but it was like the musically tone. It was like the very sad like opera type of thing where he's just looking at his daughter and you just see the necklace going through everyone.
Yeah, I could see that as like a good parallel to like in First Class when he did the coin thing.
See, that was the best part of that movie was the Magneto storyline.
Yeah.
But then basically Apocalypse comes to him and saying, "You can get your revenge. I need 4 horsemen because 4 horsemen of the Apocalypse comic book thingy." So Magneto becomes one of the horsemen to get revenge on the people who killed his daughter, humanity.
Yeah.
But anyway, the main takeaway from Apocalypse is it just kind of sets up that that's the first movie you see Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, Storm, those X-Men characters.
Yeah. Like the startup of those characters. The new version of those characters.
Because, Beast was in First Class. Mystique was in First Class, Xavier. They were all First Class. So it was kind of like the classic X-Men character, their introduction. So that was one of the things that happened in Apocalypse. The other thing was that Jean used the Phoenix Force in Apocalypse to beat Apocalypse. Which she gets at the beginning of this movie. So it's like, but didn't she already have it?
Wait, well, what the fuck?
That's not explained at all. Exactly. You just see Professor X, like, at that kind of, Apocalypse is gonna beat us moment, go to Jean, and he basically unlocks her mind, and you see the red phoenix of fire come out of her, and she just destroys Apocalypse.
What the fuck is this timeline
And then it ends at, like, Jean's really powerful now. I guess we'll have to deal with that. And then just...
It's like... Oh my god.
See, so, that's the thing that happened in Apocalypse.
Alright, cool. Yeah, sure. Honestly, like, this reminds me of kind of, like, one big issue I have with the X-Men franchise, at least by this point, is... What the fuck is the timeline
There's
anymore?
no continuity at all.
What is the continuity?
Does not exist.
Yeah, like...
This movie, out of all the movies, breaks it the most. Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, now that you told me that, it's like... What the fuck? So, like, literally, you broke the continuity of the middle of a film. Congratulations.
And then the last thing that really happened in Apocalypse that is worth noting, the movie ends basically with the X-Men assembling. So you see Cyclops in his classic costume, not used in Dark Phoenix. You see Mystique in her classic costume, not used in Dark Phoenix. And, like, you have the X-Men team, and it's like, alright, it's time. We're becoming the X-Men.
Yeah.
And then Dark Phoenix starts, and it's like, man, those are some great adventures we had as X-Men.
It's like, it reminds me of freaking Attack of the Clones, where they have that elevator scene. It's like, remember that time I saved you from those canyon dwellers? And then it's like, oh, cool, that sounds awesome, I guess. They didn't really show it.
Yeah,
okay.
So, it was weird. It's like they had the 90s cartoon X-Men thing, and Apocalypse would be the beginning of that, and then Dark Phoenix is the end. They show none of the middle. Like, not even a montage of the middle.
The middle is kind of important. That's where a lot of things happen, you know?
That's the X-Men.
That's just...
the middle part.
It's just... What the fuck? Okay.
It's like prequel, conclusion.
prequel and conclusion. What's the middle part? No, you don't
Yeah.
get it.
So now that you have that kind of knowledge of what happened in X-Men Apocalypse,
Now that I know the context of where we start with this, technically. But
which actually, let me go into the comments here. Star Gaming, yo, hi, well, welcome, nice to have you on here.
how's it going?
Like your shirts? Why, thank you.
It's only green.
Yeah, mine's a Loot Crate shirt.
something.
That actually has shrunk because I put it in the wash and it shrunk a little bit. So it's like, it used to be a little big on me, now it's like a little on the tighter side. Anyway,
Baby ones.
my brother is on here watching you. Oh, well, tell him
I'll
thank
do.
you. Appreciate.
Hey.
And have you seen Godzilla, King of the Monsters yet? I have not, have you?
Yeah.
Okay, that will probably be on the JFU podcast.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
I have some things to say about that too.
Yeah, but anyway,
yeah.
So back to Dark Phoenix, though.
Dark Phoenix.
Where do you want to start?
Where the fuck to start? Actually, that's a good question. I mean, I guess we could just start at the beginning since that's the very.
So
good
it
place to
begun
start.
with kind of the flashback of her in the car
yeah,
as a little
yeah.
girl. I thought that sequence was fine. There was nothing like extraordinarily great or bad.
Yeah, it felt very awkwardly presented. I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I mean, I guess like people know the context of like who Jean Grey is, of like the powers that she has,
Mm-hmm.
but just like the fucking way the car crash happened kind of almost made me laugh a little bit because it was just so awkward and like how it was just like like stop talking to me and the parents like Jean, calm yourself, oh shit, and then crash the car. It's like, god damn it, I've seen this like 5 million times already.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even Shazam.
Like, even Shazam did that in the same year. We had that. At least that one was actually kind of a little bit more self-aware.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and then you got the whole part with. I liked the pen speech Xavier had.
That was a nice little moment.
It's up to you what you want to do with it. That was kind of nice.
Yeah. Sort of the classic Xavier sort of like speech.
Why couldn't we get that the whole movie in Xavier? Like, and I'm fine with the flawed character. We got a flawed Xavier in Days of Future Past.
Of course, we did.
He gave up. He was fine. But like this movie, it wasn't earned his flaws. It's like, you're a dipshit who only cares about the cameras, and he's like, well, yeah. It's like,
no,
why though?
It was Days of Future Past was there's nothing really for me to earn from this. I'm not trusting anybody anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one's like, I emotionally manipulate people, and I'm kind of okay with that.
It was like so not Xavier.
Yeah, like nothing like, and it's it's not even a case of like, oh, it's a new interpretation. It's just a bad interpretation.
Yeah. Which is kind of what I said about James McAvoy. He was given nothing to work with.
Yeah.
If you gave him a better script, I think he would have killed it.
That's the thing, is like, you can feel moments where like the actors are trying to get something great out of it for the most part, and just because of the limitations of like what they're given, it's so like awkward is the only way I can describe it. Like, there's a moment I'll talk about later that feels like super awkward when it should be like impactful, and but so. Okay, so yeah, there's that flashback, and then we have the whole, like, oh no, there's astronauts in space, they're all passed out, and there's a supernova or whatever, and it's just, and, the X-Men go out to save it.
Yeah, and it's a minor problem, but it's a problem that I think we only have because we've never seen the middle chunk, is Mystique's like, I don't know if we should do this, like, haven't you guys been the X-Men for 10 years now?
Like, it says
like,
1992.
Is this where the line is? Because we as an audience have no idea where the line is because we haven't seen you guys in action.
Like,
it's like, oh, you haven't done space before. Okay. Why are you so concerned if you've been doing other stuff? Have you not been doing other stuff? It's like, that was kind of one of my early problems where I was like, well, that's bizarre.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like they have that moment of like, oh, we're doubting ourselves or whatever, but then like later on you get mentioned, oh wow, there's like a crowd for them. Oh shit, they've been doing this for forever.
It's like, they are the X-Men. They're figurines of them.
They're fucking figurines. Like, that's not just like, okay, they've been around for like a few months or whatever.
Yeah,
like, they've been around enough to be both like a symbol for like, okay, like the like for justice in the world, but also marketable. So there's just like an awkward detail that they added.
I didn't get the tension there. And like before that, more tension where Beast is like, I don't know if the ship can do that. And then the president calls. And literally Xavier goes, hello? Looks up at Beast and he's like, yeah, fine. It's like, what changed your mind about that?
Yeah, like...
I don't understand what about that. Like, oh, the president gives a shit now? Fine. It's like, that doesn't change the fact that it wouldn't or would not work. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, if the boosters don't work, that's its own situation. You're reacting from the standpoint of you don't want to do it. It's like, it didn't make sense. That tension.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. It's just... God, and you know, they have, like, a whole, like, set piece with them trying to save the astronauts that, honestly, like, feels like it goes on for forever.
Yeah, like, and that's really the only Quicksilver moment we got, was him, Nightcrawler teleporting him in, and him going, got you,
Pushed him out of the way.
Cool. And then,
that
was my 10 seconds of fame from this movie.
And then later on gets, like, a concussion.
But yeah.
And then that's when Jean Grey gets her, you know, like, Dark Phoenix moment, because, you know, she's in there trying to help people. Supernova catches her, she's like, and then
and it
has the power.
Another thing that threw me off is it was so damn dramatic, like the explosion and like compressing.
Yeah, like it compresses.
It was like, holy shit, and like then she's just flying out there. I want to say Nightcrawler just booped.
Yeah.
And Cyclops was holding her there, which I now realize the problem I have with Cyclops, that I will be curious to see how the MCU tries to fix it.
Yeah.
Is that the eyes are the window into the soul, but from an acting standpoint, it's so hard to convey emotion when you don't have access to your eyes. So he was doing that there. All he could do was quiver his lip. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing with his lip? But then I thought about it, it's like, he can't do anything else to express emotion.
Also, can I just say it? Speaking of expressing emotion with, like, Cyclops, I think the only thing he ever did throughout this entire movie was like, Jean, no! And then that's it.
Yeah. But anyway, and then, like, even when she, like, wakes up, it's like, okay, you gotta pick one or the other here. Either it's, holy shit, there's an explosion there, or it's, oh, that was a close call, but she's fine. It's like they were like, boom, bam,
like
Jean, and then it's like, I'm fine. It's like,
I'm good.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Oh, dang. Okay,
sure you're feeling good? But I mean,
yeah
you're gonna say, did you not see the fucking explosion that happened?
I feel like, especially considering it's a fucking, like, supernova going right next to Earth, people would still kind of not be a little bit like, what the fuck is going on? Instead of just kind of getting over it pretty quickly.
Even if it was not, like, the Phoenix Force, and it was just an explosion, you're still not giving a shit about it? Like, really?
This isn't something to look into, guys.
Really?
Like, fucking astronauts didn't even go out of, like, Earth's atmosphere almost before getting exploded by a supernova. So
you also think NASA didn't see that shit? Like, hey, Ted, see that smudge on the monitor? Is it just a smudge, or is there something out there? It's just a smudge. Okay.
It's whatever.
We'll send them up today, sure. Even though there's a giant cloud of fire and electricity.
I think there actually was a shot with NASA. They just saw, like, a bunch of weird stuff showing the radars, like, oh, I wonder what that is. And then, like 5 minutes later, oh no, our astronauts are knocked down.
But I still feel like if you have the technology to go send people into the space, you couldn't add, like, another couple thousand miles to that scanner thing to be like, something's entered our solar system, as opposed to something outside our atmosphere. Do you guys see that?
Is that weird, guys? I don't know if it's weird. It's probably not. It's fine. But, oh god, like... And that's kind of more just the inciting incident for the rest of the film.
Yeah.
And it still, like, within the first few minutes, I was like, this is feeling awkward as hell right now. Nothing...
Yeah, I feel like this is the beginning of nothing happening for the rest of the film.
And so it was.
Which, like, it was the weirdest feeling, because I don't remember many other movies that have made me feel this way, to where I'm like, it's going so fast I don't know what's happening, but when I think about it, nothing has happened.
Yeah, like
it's like so bizarre of like, this is all going by really quick, yet nothing is people talking. That's all that's going on. Not even talking about anything important. It's like, Gina's new powers. And just an hour of them talking about that at different various locations.
Like, literally, that's actually what the entire film is. It's like, people are like, Jean has powers. She is dangerous. She needs to be stopped. No, she's my friend.
What's the most dangerous thing she does? Destroy part of a house?
She threw a car, I guess. She killed, like, 2 police officers, I think.
But it's like, they set it up as like, oh man, we can't have mutants, period. We're assuming they've been the X-Men for 10 years. how is nothing bigger than this happening?
Like
You're
legit.
reacting like president's cutting off the phone line because a mutant killed 2 people, as opposed to the what, 10 years of them being the X-Men?
Yeah, it worked for the original X-Men because, like, okay, there's, like, the prejudice against, like, all of them or whatever, but when you get to the point when you've set up, like, national, like, support for these fucking people, and one of them goes haywire, and you know everyone else is like, we're against this, then they're like, I'm sorry, we can't help you anymore, even though you're, like, the fucking military and the CIA combined for us.
And even like the original X-Men trilogy, this is why I feel now Last Stand works so much better. It's just like in terms of the it's a trilogy that's cohesive from beginning to end. There are threads that go beginning to end, where it's like starts out there's that prejudice thing, but like, hey, the X-Men, we've been around for a little bit, but Wolverine come in, you're seeing it from his perspective. It's really his story.
Yeah.
And it ends with them being like, there's this whole lake thing and whatever with Stryker and all that. And that's the second movie. It goes straight from there into that whole plot there. And that ends with Jean dying, which is basically the beginning of the third movie, where they're still kind of recovering from that. It's just a seamless transition across the 3 movies where you're on board, and it feels like one story.
Actions actually have meaningful consequences.
Yeah.
And, momentum within the story.
Whereas this movie, continuity aside, it's just so jumpy that I don't know what has and hasn't happened to these X-Men characters.
Legit, even for characters that I have seen from, like, Days of Future Past, I'm just kind of like, well, wait, what the fuck are you... No, that's not what this character was like originally.
Yeah. And, I mean, again, I love Magneto. He has the same arc in all these films that Fassbender has been in.
Actually, yeah, he's kind of like, I'm trying to be a nice guy. Bad thing happens. Well, alright.
Whereas at least, it was Ian McKellen, right?
Yeah, Ian McKellen was originally old Magneto.
Whereas Ian McKellen, he had that kind of story of the first movie, like, you understood what he was doing, but he had this plan beginning to end.
Yeah.
That was his story arc, was executing that plan. Then X2 came along, it's like, well, we gotta team up to stop this necessary evil. Sorry, bumps the mic. And then X3 was kind of back to that first movie thing of the mutant cure, dealing with that. Whereas Fassbender is like, and here to here, reset. Here to here, reset. Here to here. He knocks it out of the park every time.
He does.
But the evolution is missing.
Yeah. And yeah, like, he does, I think, in comparison to the performances in this film, he is undeniably the best one. There's at least one moment that I think is actually, like, okay, I felt emotion from that moment, but, like, other times, I was kind of like, you're just gruff, man.
Yeah.
You're just gruff, man.
But anyway, so, backing up a little bit, the beginning of that whole nothing happening period. You see Xavier's now a dick. He randomly...
Oh my god, like freaking... Mystique or
Later
Raven.
Star Gaming.
Oh, hey, how's it going? There was Raven, who is Mystique, goes to Professor Xavier after the mission to be like, hey, those were fucking kids that are doing this mission. They could have died, and he's just like, it worked.
Yeah, he was very someone's like, I don't care. It's like, that's not Xavier at all.
Xavier's the Todd Howard of X-Men. It just works. But yeah, and just like the way he was so dismissive about it, in the fact that, again, it's a fucking supernova. 2, yeah, one of your people almost just died, and you felt no, like, remorse about, like, maybe this wasn't a responsible decision to
and
make.
They try and make him care about Jean later on. He didn't give a shit about her on the plane.
Oh god, and not when another thing happens that, like, is later on in the story. But yeah, and then also there's, like, a really terrible line during this scene. I forget what it was. Anyways, yeah, it was just like,
I remember there's the ex-women line.
Yeah, and it was just like, all right, but that had, like, literally nothing to do with, like, your themes in this part.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyways, going on from that, fuck, what happened next? Was
so
it that
I think
party
next
thing?
was the party. Yeah. So the X-Men were at the party. Oh yeah, and Beast by this point had checked her out and been like, yeah, you look fine, but well, that's odd. So there's that scene.
Yeah, he just is like, oh man, there's a strange reading on this, your health. Alright, get out.
Yeah. It's like, on the one hand, I get that he wouldn't want to tell her and freak her out, but, like, he didn't do anything after. Like, he could have gone like, yeah, you're fine, and then just went to Xavier like, holy shit, she's not fine.
Yeah.
But like, he just was like, you're fine, and then it's like, I'm gonna stare at this though for the next couple hours.
Like, you set up that there's something weird and he understands it, but he just kind of just ignores it.
Yeah, like,
then we have the next scene to actually like indicate any information on like, okay, maybe we should be worried
like,
about this.
I like the thought process behind the beginning of that. Then he just does nothing.
Yeah, like it doesn't lead to anything. Like, literally having that scene was incredibly pointless.
Yeah. But see, so yeah, then you have the party, and meanwhile Xavier's like accepting an award.
Yeah, just being like, I did this.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is the first movie where, especially at this point here, I'm like, that's James McAvoy. I'm not seeing Professor X on screen.
Like, honestly, like, and it's weird because you felt it in previous incarnations with like
where he had hair and could walk.
Yeah,
he felt more like Xavier.
Yeah. that's honestly kind of true, and yeah, like this time around, it just doesn't. For one, it just feels forced. Like, it feels really forced, trying to create this like, he's, like taking in the limelight, and he doesn't know what his actions will lead to, and it just feels like, again, it just feels super awkward.
And while I totally disagree with the decision to go that direction with Xavier, I could maybe understand it if there was at least another movie in between to show them being the X-Men, and maybe you see a transition to that. But like, it was just from the end of Apocalypse, him being like, we gotta be the X-Men, to this movie, him being like, we're the X-Men and it's great, I'm so famous from it. It's like, whoa, what?
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, this personality of Xavier, even though like there wasn't anything to set it up, would have worked better in before Days of Future Past, because then like when he fails and fucks up, then it actually like creates more interesting dynamic of him being like, this is pointless, this is hopeless, because he had that, he basically had his ego lifted up and then like completely brought himself down by the next film. But yeah, and then here he's just kind of like, I lived through my own suffering and I found humbleness, but fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but anyway, so that's going on. There's the whole party scene.
Yeah.
Which.
Yeah,
it was there.
It was there. Honestly, it's so funny that the film said, it takes place in 1992, because then the music that they played sounds like it was 2011, like rave music.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up to see for sure, but it does not sound anything.
And I get it, sure, teenagers are partying, fine, but man, was it just a scene of nothingness.
It was really like, literally, it was more or less just like, we need an excuse for Jean to show her powers, and also just like, again, we needed to set up this more. How do we use some of the leftover like VFX budget we have? Okay, we'll do this.
And it really just started the pattern of her doing, oh my god, powers. Oh, but let's talk about it now. Oh my god, powers. And let's talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like, even like the whole tree thing and all that stuff happening.
Very interesting. Like,
the worst, most consequential thing that came from it is Cyclops has a bruise on his cheek.
Dang.
That now makes Jean feel guilty for the bruise.
Yeah.
Again, 10 years of X-Men. That's never happened before.
Yeah, just like this sort of this little moment is not like something that, again, like I feel like it would have been a common occurrence by this point. I mean, it's not like the Dark Phoenix saga automatically just created her powers. She had powers before this.
Yeah, and I mean, it's literally a school for people learning how to use their powers.
It's like, no shit that someone's gonna have something that's probably a bit risky, but, needs to be controlled. So, yeah, what the fuck are you guys, like, handling it like this?
Yeah, and it's like, in Apocalypse, I really liked Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. I thought, like, yeah, she's awesome. She's the obvious actress. This movie is like, I felt like she was trying, but with that extended period of nothing happening.
It's just like where, like, how do you get the emotions to set in properly?
Yeah, it's like, I can see her.
It's so awkward.
Yeah, I can see her as an actress. She's trying to bring emotion to it, but it's like, it's not hitting me. It's not affecting me, and I want it to affect me, but it's like, yes, you're sad in this moment, but it was not an earned moment.
It was not an earned moment, and just overall, like, again, like, what you're given as a character is very just limp, I'd say. Like, it's not, it has, like the only motivation that's somewhat interesting is because, like, you know, her past, like,
Mm-hmm.
parents' death or whatever. But there's nothing else. It's just like, I don't know what's going on.
Like,
it's weird.
I could have been so much more on board with the movie if they just simply fixed Jean's character.
Of course,
Like,
yeah.
if they had told the whole film from entirely her perspective. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Not as, like,
Yeah.
we'd find out more of those things about Xavier through her rather than being like,
Mm-hmm.
let's also go back to Xavier. He'd be like, hey, I've been doing this forever. It's like, okay, cool. I don't really have any tension and, you know, like, mystery in the moment.
And, like, if just her character was just better in general, like, this whole pattern thing just didn't work.
It just doesn't. Yeah, like, it feels like it's, like, stale within the first time it happens, and then they just run it into the ground. Then we have, I think after this moment when she has her freak out, then Xavier's like, we need to go into her mind.
Yep,
and then
it was that whole thing of...
And then we get more into Xavier being an emotionally manipulative piece of shit and being like,
yeah,
I barred her from her traumatic memories forever ago, and then I forget if I think it was Cyclops like, but why? And he's like, 'cause it's cool.
Yeah, and that whole, like, literally when they're in her mind, and he was just talking about, like, literal walls he put up.
Yeah, like literal
It's
mental
like-
walls.
I could be fine with him, like, it's for her betterment if I don't tell her X piece of information. But he's literally using her powers to be like, forget that, don't know about that, this didn't happen. Like, it's...
Yeah. Just like, and it feels weird because like, the film seems to kind of somewhat morally question what Xavier's doing, but then it just kind of doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's like, it would have been fine if it's set up like, okay, what he's doing is innately wrong, and like, there's some morally questionable stuff, but then the film's kind of like...
Yeah, and I'm fine with him making a mistake, like, oh man, I really shouldn't have done that. But I felt like they really cheated us of that moment of, I really shouldn't have done that. It's very much like, oh shit, she's about to find out my mistake. We have to fix this now.
Basically hand in the cookie jar moment where it's just like, I know it's bad and I don't give a shit, but they're gonna find out.
Because then even after that point, you have the Mystique deaths. And the scene that pissed me off was with Beast and with Professor X there.
I have a lot to say about that moment.
But anyway, jumping ahead a little bit, but it's like, yeah, so you have the whole mind thing literally blocking out. Phoenix starts to wake up, and it's like, psh, someone in your mind, wake up.
Wake up.
And this is another point where we see more of Jean's powers that are not defined at all.
Like, oh, that's also the other thing. It's just like, okay, I've never read the Dark Phoenix saga, and when she gained the powers, okay, it's like, okay, she's probably more powerful, but it was like, but how? Like, what is it that makes her more powerful? And by the end of the movie, I was just like, she can throw things better, I guess, and she can, you know, like, see when people read into her mind.
Yeah, but it's like, literally, Cyclops comes to the door, and it's like, I'll go with you. And she's like, nope, and just he falls asleep, and I was like, guess she can do that now.
Well,
cool.
I guess that's the thing.
Like, I guess technically you could argue that could happen through her normal powers, but again, we've never seen her do that before.
Exactly, that's not, like, that kind of thing is not defined at all.
Like, when you have to make that kind of an assumption, that's just crappy storytelling.
Yeah, like, again, you're the audience has to do more to put the story together than you did.
Yeah. So, anyway, she leaves, and I think that's when we get the beginning of my least favorite part of this film, the alien stuff.
Oh my god! I was like... For one, Captain Marvel already came out, so I feel like we already done this, guys. Two, this is more mainly my kind of lack of knowledge of the X-Men comics, but like, it feels so fucking weird that there's aliens now.
Yeah, it doesn't work at all. Because, again, there's no explanation to why they're here. They're supposedly following that shit, but it's just like, when it cuts back to the scene of like,
why?
But what you didn't know about that smoke thing, if they were watching from over here.
Okay, cool, but why?
Yeah, it's like...
But why?
She tries to explain it through a monologue, but just there's no action backing up her, like, I'm gonna destroy the planet because they destroyed mine. It's like...
Yeah, and it's just like, she has, like, this whole monologue, and it's just a bunch of vague, like, metaphorical bullshit that doesn't... It's like, okay, cool, but actually why, though?
Yeah, those aliens are probably my least favorite villain in a comic book movie in a long time.
God, yeah.
Like, I feel like that pretty much is is on par with Steppenwolf.
Basically, yeah.
It's, I'd argue, probably worse than Enchantress, because at least Enchantress you had that plot twist of like, she's the good person with this thing trapped inside her. Oh, but it took over. Like, there wasn't even that. Like, it's just very much like, they're aliens, they chase the powerful thing, and now they're here to destroy Earth and corrupt Jean.
It's literally, like, it's so funny, because, like, Steppenwolf at least made the plot have some progression. These are literally background dressing. Like, Jean is already having her, like, massive, terrible powers, and the aliens are just kind of, like, a thing that they just added onto it.
And I'd argue it's worse. It's speed bumps for the story.
Because
every time after something happens, like Xavier leaving, you have that speed bump of, like, the tall security guard being like, I'm an alien, too.
Alien, man.
And, like, the house dinner scene. That was like, but why? What does this serve? Even watching the entire movie, why? It just doesn't add anything.
It would have been, you know what? This film could have at least had the benefit of being like, this is gonna sound really weird, but like doing kind of a Venom where instead of having the aliens, it's like it's just the powers speak to her like subconsciously. Maybe we don't hear it.
I would be more on board with that.
That would have been more interesting, because then for one, everyone wouldn't just be like, Jean, stop listening to the aliens. They'd be like, Jean, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, and what a lame, and we'll get to it, what a lame final act fight those aliens.
Oh my god. There's actually a really funny story I want to tell you about that, production-wise, that kind of, I think, might explain why it feels so, like, basically, like, half-baked.
So, but anyway, I think that's the first scene where we get the introduction to the aliens.
Yeah.
It's like, the mutant cure story from Last Stand, again, 10 times better than these aliens.
Exactly.
I'll take, because that's compelling. It's like, you have the ability to give up your gifts and what makes you unique. Do you do it?
There's themes and actual consequence. There's actual weight behind it. And here it's just aliens from some planet.
Like, I'm telling you, on the drive home, it's like, how much effort is it to go on Vudu and buy Last Stand to just cleanse my brain? Which I never thought I would say.
Exactly. That's the sign of it's like it'd be the equivalent of seeing like whatever the next Indiana Jones film is and being like, man, I wish I saw King of the Crystal Skull again.
Wasn't Crystal Skull amazing, guys? Like,
yeah, it's just
it is now.
It is now, apparently. Because, yeah, like, even fucking, like... Because, I mean, like, somewhere between, like, X-Men 2 and X-Men 3 had a better Dark Phoenix story than this did.
Yeah. And, like, that's saying something, because the Muse Cure story was on par with the Dark Phoenix story in terms of screen time. So it's like...
Basically, yeah. And, God, and it's just... And then, yeah, then they dedicate a whole film to that story, and then they just do nothing. Not a single interesting, like character or storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, Jean Grey in Last Stand was doing shit. Like,
she
literally,
did.
Her introduction was killing Cyclops in the first couple minutes she's on screen. Then you see her again, she kills Professor X. It's like, holy shit, here it's like, she accidentally kills Mystique.
Yeah, that's the extent that we have. And then, you know, she's sad about it for like 5 minutes until the aliens are like, but you're cool though.
Yeah, which I actually think that's the scene we're about at. Because after the thing, it's like, Jean goes to find her dad, because she heard her dad's voice.
Yeah, and then she finds him, and he's like, okay, cool.
Again, what a coinky dink. He's like, still living in the same house, and opened the door, he was home. It's like...
And still alive.
Yeah, it's like... He honestly didn't look much older than that flashback.
Yeah, like, and I mean, she was like freaking, like, looked like she was 8 then, and is probably not like 24 in this film. Granted,
James McAvoy looks the same age as First Class, more or less.
Do you want me to tell you a funny story? I just remembered also. Someone pointed out that, like, by this point, Magneto's, like, 60, and he still looks like Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, I saw, like, a picture graphic of, like, First Class, the decade there. Days of Future Past, decade there. Dark Phoenix, time period there, like 10 years later, because it was like 2004.
Yeah.
Ian McKellen. It's like...
God.
Man, those 10 years were really rough on Magneto.
Damn. A lot of shit happened. Well, I mean, for one, his freaking, like... Well, I'll get into that later. That's actually more important later.
Yeah.
But yeah, she meets her dad. Just, like, a freak out. The X-Men find her. Then, you know, there's a, like, 2-minute fight scene that happens.
And also, that scene with her confronting her dad, like, there are no pictures of me, and her learning that, like, he didn't want her, that scene in another movie could be incredible.
That would have
It's the execution, and I have so much trouble trying to verbalize what I feel is wrong with that scene, but the emotional beats don't land, and they so totally could in a better movie.
It's like nothing about it, like the way that they shot it or how the actors presented their characters. It just, again, like, it's just as limp emotionally as, like, the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, freaking the setup for these characters has been nothing but, you know, these powers are dangerous, you're kind of dangerous, and she's like, oh no, but it's not enough time for that actually to process with the audience members. Like, I mean, you process it from what it means literally, but not emotionally. And yeah, so, like, once this moment happens, it just kind of feels, like, forced and really awkward.
Yeah. And I so wanted to land. It's like, and, like, in terms of her doing crazy shit, what if she just vaporized her dad?
That would have at least given it some, like...
And the X-Men around are like, Jean, what did you do?
Yeah,
and that's the start of that scene.
And then that ends with, you know, Raven getting killed, and then, you know, actual, like, there's a domino effect there that actually feels like it could work, and then here it's just like, Jean, stop it. Okay, and, like, fight scene happens, nothing really of much consequence happens until, you know, actually killing Mystique.
Yeah, which, like, even that, like...
God, Logan was such an emotional, like, powerhouse. We need something for this film. God, who do we have? We can't kill Xavier because he's important to the plot. Nobody gives a shit about, like, all the other characters. Mystique, okay.
Well, and also, Jennifer Lawrence didn't care about the character at all. She was, like, I have not seen an actress phone in a role like this in a while.
And
she was literally, like, reading cue cards.
It felt like... Yeah, like, I saw clips from, like, previous films, and I watched this film, and there's just, like, a not really even caring, like, about this anymore, which is honestly totally understandable, because, like, her character does nothing besides just be like, Jean, we need you to, you know, listen to us, and then dying, like, halfway through
the movie. And also, there's been no relationship between Mystique and Jean until this film.
Yeah, like, literally the most we get is just... I can read your mind and tell that you're nervous about this. Yeah? Okay, cool, bye.
During Apocalypse, I don't even think they were, like, on screen together.
Really?
Like, I think, like, the only interaction that I can think of is literally the end where where Mystique basically has the X-Men Assemble type moment.
That's it.
And they're just, like, they're in the same shot together.
Yeah, that's the extent of what we get with that. Brilliant. Fantastic.
So, like, it was not at all earned. And, I mean, even the trailers, they basically show that she dies. It's like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did. And, like, I was assuming it was like, oh, it's probably someone. But, like, yeah, now think about it, it's like, who else would it have been? Like, nobody gives a shit about any of the
Even when I was editing the trailer reaction that I recorded, it's literally the shot of, you see Mystique fly back, and the next shot's of a cemetery funeral scene. It's like, I was editing that, and I was like, did they just spoil? They did. That's totally what happens.
They full up spoiled the film for you, and then yeah, they did.
Like, could you imagine if they could have just not put those two clips together and do that scene of, like, her crushing in what's her name, Magneto's helmet in, and then he flies back, and then a cemetery is like, she kills Magneto, and then, like, in the movie it's like, oh no, it's not anything. To not spoil, like, the main emotional thread of the movie.
The only emotional catalyst that you have, which honestly wasn't even strong to begin with, is now just like, well, alright, I guess everybody knows. Cool.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And yeah, just, oh god. And yeah, and then just, like, I don't even feel like having to discuss, like, the next scene, because it's literally, like, well, actually... Before getting into the next scene, there is the whole discussion that Beast has with Professor Xavier's like, you're an emotionally manipulative piece of shit, and he's kind of like, I guess, but I don't care, because I'm doing it for what's good for everyone. He's like, but it isn't, though.
Yeah, that scene just really frustrated me.
God. And not even to just say, like, the performances were the most wooden, awkward, like... least convincing thing possible.
Yeah.
It's just, oh god. And then, but then like right after that scene, then we just get basically the equivalent of the previous scene, but just at that like little Magneto base that he has.
Yeah, which, again, we haven't seen him since Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And it's like Apocalypse at the very end. It's like he was there with Xavier when like the team was assembling, and he's like, "So I guess you're gonna be the X-Men now." Cool. And then like Lump is like, "So I guess their 10 years as the X-Men, he wasn't Magneto at all. He was just basically Farmer Man. He's basically an Amish mutant."
I'm honest. That's great. I like to think that he just fucking made like Xavier thinks that he's so pure with his mutant academy. I'm gonna do it, but we don't have a budget because I'm a fucking terrorist.
It's like,
but like yeah, just like the same thing happens. Like enforcement show up. Magneto's like, "Oh, I gotta stop him," and he's like, "Get out of here. We don't want you here." And then, but then like 5 minutes later, Xavier shows up. He's like, "Hey, he killed Mystique." He's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill her." And then
yeah, and also
so...
it's such a minor note, but it's like, I know there's a world where that scene was awesome with the helicopter thing. It's like the soldiers tell Magneto like, "Hey, stop that!" And he's like, "It's not me." And Jean's like, "It's me." And then just like destroys that one helicopter. And Magneto's like holding it down, trying to tell people, "Get in." And first off, 2 problems with that part. 1, okay, in Days of Future Past, he lifted a stadium.
He lifted a fucking
stadium.
And then in here, he has to just be like, ah.
If they're competing in force of him pulling it down, her lifting it up, that helicopter's crushed. It's like it's destroyed by the force going into it.
There's no way
because there's no way it's harder for him to push down a helicopter than it is to lift a stadium. He lifted the stadium with so little effort, too.
Yeah, like it was just kind of just like a graceful like lift.
I know this continuity doesn't matter now, but in Last Stand, he moved the fucking San Francisco bridge.
Yeah, like it just
he just lifted it up
with him on it too, I think.
And his whole army. That's how they got to the island. Is he moved the bridge.
So yeah, it's not like, I guess someone can make the excuse of, for that case, like, oh, maybe his powers improved since then. But then again, freaking Days of Future Past was when he did the stadium, not when he got old.
And, like, also you can argue, Jean's super powerful. He's super powerful. The helicopter is how you show off that they're equal in power.
Yeah, like, you should have done it with something like, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's, like, that train thing, but that was an awkward thing anyways.
Also, it's just such a little thing, is, like, when he just threw it up, it's like, it went, and then just like, and we're good now. It's like, what?
I think if I remember correctly, like, you saw, like, a CG effect of it, like, flying around, like, twirling, and then, like, it cut back to them, and then cut back to them, and it's like, oh, hey, now it's back.
I want to say you saw it twirling, and then it leveled out and flew out of the shot.
That's so fucking funny.
Like, that's not how helicopters work. Not at all. That helicopter should have gone over the mountain.
Yeah, like...
And then you hear...
There's no way that thing would have fucking, like, stayed proportionally there. Not proportionally, but, like, momentum-wise.
Yeah, like... And then, like, Fassbender's throw of it is, like, the director's like, just chuck it up. And he's like...
God.
Like it's the dodgeball? It's like, that, yes. It's like...
That was also another point that just was like made me sink into my seat. It was like when they did do the Magneto powers, like their introduction was that helicopter moment, but like the way he did it was just okay, do that and go nothing like about like the way that he was using like his body to like indicate that he was doing metal control. It was just look like you're pushing it.
Yeah, and I know it's this guy's directorial debut, and I don't know how I would do this. But there was such a disconnect, especially in that scene, between what the CGI was doing and what the actors were doing.
Oh my god, you have no... That's also the other thing, is like, just from a production value standpoint, this film feels so awkward, and it's just... Like, character makeup and freaking some of the production design and costume design is like...
So X-Men movies, especially in this universe, have had awesome costumes.
Exactly. And then this one has, like... It just looks like a jumpsuit with an X, and that's it.
Yeah, which I mean, they've done jumpsuits with X's before, and it's looked cool.
That's two. Like they had the freaking like ones from First Class that looked amazing.
Yeah, and then their costumes. I'm gonna pull it up so you can see. Sorry, viewers, you won't be able to see. Their costumes at the end of Apocalypse were awesome.
God. Everyone was also making fun of the fact that like the makeup effects for Mystique from like X-Men Days of Future Past to now
looked awful.
It's just it looks like light blue. Oh, those look fantastic.
Like, look at Cyclops. That is Cyclops.
That actually looks a lot
and
like
even, fucking Mystique. That's her comic book costume right
there.
Yeah,
yeah, like the classic design.
You see Nightcrawler has that red.
Yeah, like there's a distinctive like look to it, and yeah, then they didn't. They're just like, we're just gonna go back to the old design.
Yeah, like how does it suck that much?
When you don't care about money.
But anyway. Where are we now? Oh, yeah, the camp thing. And he's like, and I was like, when he told her to leave, that's when I really realized, like, oh, this is an awful pattern that we're in. It's literally her showing up, her showing power, someone telling her to leave, or she leaves on her own accord. It's like, that whole sequence then didn't need to happen. It just didn't.
This movie is a repeat version of like that scene in Sad Dog films where the owner's like, "Can't you see I don't want you anymore?"
I mean, in the editing room, if this wasn't supposed to be a huge blockbuster movie, I could totally see them being like, "Wait, so she leaves in the previous scene to go somewhere. She leaves at the end of this scene. Magneto his first appearance could be Beast telling him Mystique is dead.
Yeah.
Does that need to be here? Like, an editor should have that thought of like, what does this do for the story? Does this have to be here? And it's like, no, the editing and cinematography in this. We're almost to it, so I'm just gonna say it. The sequence that really stuck out to me was when Beast was telling Magneto Mystique was dead. The editing, I was watching it like, what? Why? What are you doing? In cinematography,
there's just coverage.
His reaction, the coverage was garbage for it. And especially the shot of him having his arm up with something. It's supposed to be like his face. But so much of the shot is just you see the sun coming in, and it's just his arm, and you see part of his face. It's like the editing on that's like, why use that shot? That's such an awful shot for showing his emotion there.
Yeah, and
he's so little of that shot, and it's majority white sky.
Yeah, like
overexposed white sky to counter his face, so that's in shot.
Honestly, during like with that shot specifically, I was kind of like, wait, what's going on? Wait, I honestly thought like they cut to like a different scene for like a quick moment.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh wait, no, it's Magneto. They're just shooting it awkwardly. There's one moment that's really awkward to me, but it's near the end, so I may talk about that later.
So what else happens? This is also where I start to lose it in terms of
I think there was
the story,
quote unquote. I think the next part is like after Xavier's told off. Magneto finds out Mystique is dead. I think it was the alien people go to Jean and they're like, "You're special. You don't have to abide by their rules. You're gonna be the coolest."
What a stupid arc! Like, I just everything with the aliens. It felt like I was watching another movie.
It really did, honestly.
It just was so distractingly not everything else.
It just feels like a disconnected component from like another film that they just sort of brought in.
Yeah, it's like I get you want to use stuff from the comics, but if it doesn't work or feel organic to the story in terms of converting that to a film, then you just got to make changes and not have that in there.
Yeah, and and then but they kind of go on with that. There's the whole like. Visual effects thing, or it's like, this is why you're special, Jean. You're cool.
She was just monologuing that whole scene.
That monologue on that's all she does through this film is like, I'm gonna give menacing monologue about how you're right on your evil doings.
It's like that saying, "Show don't tell." She was entirely tell. I don't think I saw her doing a single thing.
Basically, yeah. And God, what even happens next? I think the next thing that happens is when both like Magneto and Xavier go to New York to try to stop Jean.
Which that's a scene that could have totally been incredible.
That could have been something.
It had so much potential because you see like Beast, Magneto, and nameless Brotherhood characters that have no character whatsoever and not even interesting powers.
Yeah.
I don't know why they were there. Just fodder, basically. And then you
Yeah.
have Professor X, Cyclops, and Storm, I believe, there as well. And it's like, that could have been so cool in that fight there, but how it was shot and edited was so jarring.
There's one point that I can point to specifically.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of supposed to be like the point in which like Magneto finds out Xavier knows that he's going to try to kill Jean, and he's like, I'm not going to let you. It does like a shot reverse shot, but it's like their face is on the extreme far right of the frame, and Magneto's is the extreme far left of the frame, and there's just like a bunch of dead space there, which like, okay, that could be interesting depending on the moment you're trying to do, but this is like...
Or the geography. The background, depending on what that is, could also make that shot interesting.
Exactly, yeah. And it just like, again, this is a moment where you're supposed to feel the intensity, and then I'm just confused by the framing, like...
Yeah. And also from a cinematography aspect, never in that whole sequence did they show the geography, which made that fight really disorienting, at least for me.
It really was.
They were jumping from characters going on, but I had no idea of the relation to those characters and the other fight going on. So when they would interact, it's like, oh, you were right there, I guess.
It was like, I think it was like the fight was in the park, or was it later on that I'm trying to remember? But like, I know what moment you're talking about, because like, there's just moments where you feel like, okay, there's been some movement around this little space, there should have been some change, and then you're like, wait, no, they're in the same spot again.
It's like, could you imagine if, like, the fight where they're on the road and on cars and stuff and all that stuff, there was a long shot that was setting up geography, like, here's this fight, going to this fight, to this fight, to this fight. Like,
they
that
have
kind of
the
thing.
budget to do so.
Like, that kind of thing. That would be an awesome shot. But they do that same thing without the bridge in between. It's like, here's the cut of this fight. Already cut this fight. Cut to this fight, back to this fight. Now let's do this fight and that fight. Now this fight's interacting with this fight. But you don't know where they are in relation to each other.
Yeah, like, they might as well just be, like... yeah, just in, like, different areas entirely before they converge again.
And in my opinion, that should have been the fight of the film, right there.
Yeah.
That should have been the centerpiece. That should have been the airport fight equivalent.
Exactly, yeah.
But it was not shot like that at all.
It really was not, honestly. Then, I think after that is when, they both go to Jean.
Yeah.
Magneto tries to kill her, then she, like, goofs him and tries to break his helmet.
Which, man, is he nerfed in this movie.
Yeah, he's
like,
nerfed
his thing to kill her is like, I'll just use the railing. Stab! Oh
no.
Stab! Oh. Well, now I'm all out of stuff I can do. It's like, you literally dragged a subway up to where you are.
Just, like, okay... And, like, they knew where Jean, like, what building Jean was at, so they could have just, like, if Magneto really wanted, he could have been, like, I mean, of course, like, we need the intimacy of the action to make it work, but he could have just been, like, she's in that building? Cool.
Right? And, like, from the trailer, that shot of Magneto walking up with the subway crashing through behind him, I thought that would be, like, he has the entire Brotherhood army in that subway, and that's his invasion.
And then,
and that's how he was moving his troops or something. And watching the movie, I thought, just throw the subway at her, or just do something.
Like, literally a fucking entire subway. Like, and you don't... The only thing you use is just, I'm gonna make a cool entrance.
Yeah, and, like, Magneto used his powers for nothing really at all. Like, the only semi-cool thing was near the end when he used all of the guns, which he knew wouldn't work. But anyway, that aside.
Yeah. And then we have, I don't remember, I think it's, like, right after this. Well, after the fucking one scene that, like, bothers me in a weird way I can't even describe is the moment where Xavier goes to Jean, tells him, like, okay, Jean, I need you to come back to us, and then Jean's like, no, you're all weak, and then she makes Xavier walk to her, I mean. That was, That just felt so, it was almost like Uncanny Valley walking up there. Yeah.
It's like they're the way to make that, like, creepy and haunting.
And
like painful. But it just seems, like, awkward.
It just felt like McAvoy just, like, skidding across the floor.
Yeah, like...
Like, you could have, again, sound design. Just make, like, hear bones, like, distort. And in a way that's not supposed to happen. And then you just didn't do that. But then, Xavier's, like, remember that time I told you you were special? And she's like, yeah. You want to come back to us now? Yeah. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You're not going to address the fact that, you still, like, fucked with your memories.
And I like the on paper version of that scene of, like, him being like, I'm done telling you what to do. Read my mind and know how I feel. And her reading his mind being like, oh, he's sincere. That on paper, awesome scene. So awesome.
It would be great, but yeah, then the way
There's
they
just a
just...
disconnect.
Just like the way that they presented is so flat and, like... yeah, like, you don't feel the sincerity coming off from it. It just feels like, okay, they're showing the flashback again. That means you gotta remember, oh yeah, he's cool, I guess. He's fine.
Mm-hmm. Which I will say, of all the things to cut back to, the pen thing is like, oh wow, that's a really cool moment. And that's like the only moment of the film where it's like, oh yeah, that one good moment that we had earlier. Got it. Yeah. Bring that in here.
Please.
That was the editor trying to save the scene.
Like,
that wasn't in the script. Just like him being like, we gotta do something here.
We need something. And then, and I think after that is when there's the whole train sequence, right?
Yeah, well, also,
is it?
I don't know. I saw the movie, and it was so confusingly done, I don't know what she was trying to do, but alien chick trying to absorb Jean's power through that hug thing.
Oh, yeah.
I have not a clue what she was trying to do there, what the end goal was, and why, like, I think
it was, like... Jean is showing emotion again to humans. I guess I'll just better do this myself.
But then that's the whole thing at the end where she's like, no, this is gonna kill me. It's like...
Do you think they cared when thinking about that?
It just makes no fucking sense.
It really does
at all.
It just kind of... It just feels like a thing that's like, you're supposed to feel tension in this. I'm not sure why, but you are.
Yeah. And then... pretty much we're getting to FBI or whoever the fuck electrocutes and handcuffs all of the characters. And that's when I was like, where the fuck are we going now? This movie literally like
why
location A, location B, location C, location D. It's like...
Do you want to hear an interesting story about that? So apparently...
I think I might know this, but tell me, yeah.
Oh, you might. Originally that wasn't supposed to be a train sequence.
Mm-hmm.
They were supposed to have a sequence that was like kind of like their set piece in space, which...
In space?
In space. Which I guess kind of makes sense, because, that's where Jean has her powers, and maybe that's where, like, the climactic moment will happen. But yeah, then, literally, last minute, they're like, nah, let's do a train sequence that doesn't fucking fit into this story whatsoever. And so they had to rewrite, like, how they got there. They're like, oh shit, I guess we'll have to add, like, FBI captured us, and then we have a fight on train or whatever.
I'll say I don't like either of those two endings. So.
Really,
the train or space. Like, man, am I appreciating Last Stand now? So that's cool. Like they were out on the island and they were protecting whoever it was. I don't even remember who. And Magneto was coming to them, and it was the title, literally their last stand of like, people are gonna die in this fight. It felt like Deathly Hallows from Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're not all gonna make it, but this is our last chance to stand up for what we believe in.
Exactly.
That was such, and now it's like. And they're on a train. It's like,
God. Now they're on a train. This is our equivalent of Endgame for X-Men. Do you remember that?
Yeah, you're right. Man, it's like my analogy would be if they went from the first Avengers movie to Infinity War. It's like that's what this would be.
God. Yeah, basically.
Or from this movie to Endgame. It's like, whoa, half the people died? Apparently.
I guess. Well, that was a thing. But yeah, then there's the whole train sequence, just like boring action. No one gives a shit by this point, and I'm gonna be honest. I tuned out like halfway through the
I wish I tuned out.
I fucking fell asleep. I was watching it late at night, so I mean, there's that. But
yeah,
I legit. It's just like. Nothing of this is giving me any emotional weight or value, so I'm just gonna,
They were just grunt fodder that, like, couldn't be killed by normal gunfire. Yet at the same time, everyone tried shooting them. And, like, another moment that I had serious problems with, just from, like, I don't like to think like this, but I absolutely just, it wouldn't leave my mind. Yeah. There's that guy with the LMG, who was the only guy who could kill one of them. Literally, alien busts through the door. You know what? LMG guy, you wait there. We'll try with our normal guns. That doesn't work. LMG guy, go. He decimated that guy. and then just stopped firing until he was killed. More guys kept coming in, and he's like, nah, but you guys got this, right? You didn't need me to kill the other one. You guys got this, right? And they just one by one killed all the other guys, while that dude's just standing there with the LMG like,
well,
waiting my time.
Out, need to use this, right?
It's like, and then he died, and I'm like, what a fucking moron.
What are you doing?
How you made it to that point after being dropped on your head repeatedly as a child. How did you not die sooner? It's like, God.
Again, this is like a brief moment within the film, and there's just like holes all over it.
Oh yeah. By this point, in my theater, there were 2 other people, by the way.
Like, okay, but how many were there when you first got there?
4. IMAX, by the way.
Oh, God.
But by this point, my hand was just resting like this. Just like,
Dude. No, same here, honestly. I was like, I like to sit up in the front row, but even then, I was just like slouching into my chair, just like, it wasn't as much this, but more like, that.
I was just like, if they could somehow 180 this and make it an amazing film for the last 10 minutes, I can walk out and not feel like this film just shat in my face for 2 hours.
Shat into your soup and then made you eat it. God, like... Okay, like, legit, I don't know how it ended. I wasn't conscious.
So, they made their... Xavier is like, Cyclops, take me to Jean, and all that. And it was just kind of this walk of them walking. Person shows up, bam! Person shows up, bam!
Action scene, wow.
Yeah, just so lame and just, like, reminded me, actually, Age of Ultron, just all the Ultron drones.
Oh, God.
Just, like, it felt like that. But it eventually...
Like, endless, like, oh, dead, it's all gone. Where's the progression? I don't know.
Yeah, then eventually, Xavier, he gets to Jean, and it's like, oh, I can't get into her head. But meanwhile, she's like, but I'm in your head. And he's like,
oh, no.
Oh, shit, okay. And she's like, I know what I have to do. I have to save my family. And just wakes the fuck up and just kills everything.
Yeah, just like, why were you
She
asleep?
just lifts the train up. Exactly. It's like, you've been able to do this the whole time. Those restraints were like someone touching your palm. You were not held down at all. People are dying. And she's like, but this is comfy, you know? But she just goes like, bing, lifts up. Meanwhile, evil alien person is making a slow walk. It kind of felt like the worst possible version of that Days of Future Past thing where the Sentinels are coming and Magneto's holding the door. Only it's Magneto, he grabs every gun from the locker, just starts firing them at her. And she's like, I like you. Knocks him out, as opposed to killing him like she did everyone else.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm gonna make a funny quip. Also, I mean, you're a character beloved by fans, so...
And Nightcrawler, who is a pacifist, by the way. It's a neat little comic book thing, because he's a and all that. He just sees someone die, and he's like, I'm gonna kill people. Picks up a knife, and murders 10 people. And then one of them, he teleports to be in front of the train, drops them, and teleports them back. And he's literally like a knife in this hand and his tail, and they're both slitting throats, and he's teleporting around. He's killing everybody.
Character.
And then just gets knocked out like a bitch.
Oh, so just like Quicksilver, basically.
Yeah, it's like that level. Storm tries to stop evil alien lady, but like, lightning! Psh! And person goes, nope, back at you, reverse card, and she electrocutes and faints.
I give you the reverse Uno card.
And then, gets to Dark Phoenix, and she's like, oh, I'm awake now. Time to Ex Machina this. Lifts the train off, there's a huge explosion thing. And literally, it's grunt after grunt of her disintegrating people. And that's the only time in the movie she's done that. It's like,
okay, cool.
I guess you can do that now.
Sweet.
Cool.
That's wonderful.
Then Big Bad Chick comes out, and she's like, I will take your power. And Jean's like, okay. And then evil lady alien person's absorbing her power, and it's like, wait, but I didn't mean it.
It was a joke, fam.
But then through the, like, I don't know, plot, when the transfer is happening, like, you see Scott's hand begin disintegrating and going towards them, and alien person's like, if you kill me, you'll kill all of your friends too.
Yeah.
And Jean's like, nope, and just flies into space, and then just like, and absorb.
God. Oh, actually, that reminded me of something I forgot to talk about that I thought was really funny. It's not that important to the plot, but it kind of reminded me of like how badly
Nothing's important to this plot.
It
Go
isn't.
For it.
It isn't. Yeah, but it's just a funny interaction that happens between Xavier and Scott.
Mhm.
It was before they even go to do like the whole New York fight of Jean. He brings Scott along. He's like, I can't risk any of you getting harmed. I need to do this. You're all like family to me. All right, Scott, let's go. And it's just so funny to me because like I that was like the only moment I laughed during the entire movie because like it was so fucking funny because he gave like this big speech to Storm. It's like, we need to help too, we're all family, and he's like, you're right, but you're too important to me. And then Scott's just like right there, and I'm just like, I guess they just didn't think about it, but
Yeah,
it's just like,
and I feel so bad for the actor who played Cyclops.
fucking
Because, like, he's now gonna be the butt of every joke. Just because, like, I still feel like with that visor, he can't emote anything, but man, does it look so bad.
It does.
In the theater, like, his acting, which, again, I'm sure he's an awesome actor, but he just can't emote anything.
Yeah, just...
So he just has to stand there blank-faced until he has something to say.
All right, Scott, let's go. But yeah, just yeah, like, and yeah, to be honest though, like, it is kind of fitting because Scott doesn't really do much anyways in the film, so it's fitting that he's like the all right, I don't actually care about you. Let's go.
I will say, one of the Endgame writers released something saying like they have an idea for Cyclops in an X-Men movie where he'd be the main character, and they have an idea of like, oh, here's what the film would be, and it would basically be a Cyclops-led X-Men movie, because he has a really cool Cyclops arc in mind.
Yeah.
That I'd be cool to see, because Cyclops is supposed to be leader of the X-Men.
Yeah,
and like, as much as I love Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, we've gotten 20 years of that story.
That's past. We've done.
I'd rather see them do Cyclops well, because he hasn't been.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like,
even Professor X now with this trilogy has been done well. Give Cyclops some time.
Like, freaking both Xavier and Logan have kind of run their course now, finally. Yeah. But yeah, like, now we have all these new characters, but we don't give a shit about them because you didn't develop them to any interesting degree besides you remember them from, like, the original films, right?
Yeah. God.
But yeah.
They don't exist in this continuity.
That too. Basically non-existent anymore. Oh god, it's so funny.
But the movie basically ends where it's like the Jean Grey School for Gifted Children, and Beast is now the Xavier and stuff.
Wow.
Like, it didn't feel earned at all, firstly, but then
yeah.
Professor X is on the, retired. Magneto comes up to him and is like, game of chess. And it's like...
they fucking... That was...
Yeah.
Okay, I woke up by that point. I saw that, and that was another point. I was like, I'm gonna fucking lose my shit. Because, like, every single movie has to have a chess battle in some way with Xavier. It's, like, literally impossible not to. Mm-hmm. And they just had the whole film, final scene, Magneto's like, want to square up?
And it's one of those things where it's like, I love what the chess symbolizes to the characters, and that it's the constant thing of, no matter how many battles they fight against each other, they have that kind of respect for each other.
Exactly.
But man, was that just we gotta leave with the fans happy.
Chess.
It's like...
Also, it kind of just looked like Magneto just pulled it out of his ass. like where the fuck did he get that? Like, he just was like, shows up with Xavier, is like, hey, you want to play? Here it is.
Yeah.
Oh god, but just yeah, that and I think that's where it ends, right?
Oh,
the chess theme.
Well, then you just see the pan up to the sky and it's Red Phoenix flying across.
Phoenix. Oh no.
For the sequel they're gonna do? Why? It's like, either have her die or not die. It's like, you gotta end.
Don't set up
at all. You just have to end.
Just end. There's nothing more. This is the end, guys. Just fucking wrap it up already.
You couldn't have a satisfying conclusion to the stories that we've been following for 20 years?
You couldn't. You don't make this movie and just leave it at Logan.
Yeah, right?
That's the best you could have done. I mean, like, it's a bit more depressing, but at least it actually has
it would
conclusiveness.
You would have closure.
Closure, exactly.
I have no closure from this movie. I just have frustration.
I have... What was the girl character's name from Logan? Like, the little girl...
oh my god, what was her name?
But, like, she has more development and more interest in me personally as being, like, the next person leading X-Men than any of these characters do.
Yeah.
Who have been set up in previous films for, like, forever now.
Yeah.
And then just, now I don't give a shit.
And it's one of those things where, like, if they had done more films in between Apocalypse in this story, or just cared more about, like, the character development,
or just
the overarching spreads between movies.
Maybe just give someone who had more competency in directing and writing.
Yeah, like, man. Like, how do people sign off on the script? How did that happen?
They just don't care.
Like, I could see this being a first draft, and them going like, okay, well, let's revise it. Not the final product.
Exactly.
Not even during production did they see a scene and be like, we gotta fix this before we shoot this.
Yeah. And the things that they did doesn't make sense. Like, why did you fucking change the whole space fight into let's make it a train now? Like, that's still not good.
Yeah. And, like, also, this movie was supposed to come out in 2018, bear in mind.
That too. Oh god, yeah, I forgot about that.
Could you have imagined?
What the fuck are they doing with... Well, I also just remembered... Is New Mutants still a thing that's trying to be made?
Yes.
Are they... What the fuck? What the fuck is the continuity now? Like, literally at this point, you might as well just have, like, standalone films that mean nothing to the series. Like, just X-Men films that happen.
Yeah. Well, from what I'm aware of, I believe the plan with New Mutants is they're, like, all the reshoots that happen now, the kids who are in the movie are too old for reshoots because that much time has passed.
Just make another fucking movie.
So what I think they're looking at is they're going to finish editing it, and then it'll be a dump on Hulu.
You know, that makes sense.
So I don't think it's going to be a theatrical release.
$150 million dump on Hulu.
Literal dump. Odds are.
Like, I doubt they'll even market it.
Yeah, and the trailer intrigued me. I was like, I was like, ooh, this could be an interesting take on X-Men because we've never seen it before. But man, everything else was it.
It also just kind of looked like a cure for wellness, but they made it with X-Men.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. But even that, I'd be like, oh,
at least it's something.
I want to see how they do that.
At least it has interest in a different style. Where
and it felt fresh on a franchise that had been going on for 20 years.
Whereas here we just got like milquetoast stylistic choices and like barely existent editing decisions that make any sense.
I think the editor was blindfolded and just like, I gotta finish this. We just have to. The sooner it's done, the better.
Well, at least it wasn't the editor for Bohemian Rhapsody, I guess. But listen, it wasn't. Like,
I don't think it was much better though.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. Like if they made it where like there's multiple shots happening within like seconds, then yeah. But they just had it like, okay, we actually hold on shots, but we don't know where the fuck they are happening.
Right? Like
they happen somewhere.
Which could also be less of a thing with the editor and more of a thing with shooting it, the cinematography. There wasn't coverage for the editor. But still, like, how does that happen on a movie of this size?
When you don't give a shit and just need
Which that's money. The saddest thing. It's like, you can see when and who doesn't care about this movie when they're making it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, that's just disappointing when that happens. Especially to such beloved characters and a franchise and all that. This is their send-off. It's like...
send-off, yeah, like the final... Yeah, like, now, like, I mean, there's still... New Mutants is its own thing entirely, so that doesn't count. But, like, yeah, like, this is it for these characters. We're never gonna see it like this again. It's gonna be rebooted, most likely, with a different cast and all that, and this is it. Bye. I remember, actually, I was cleaning a theater a couple of days ago. There's people waiting for an end credit scene, because they were like, there's gotta be more, right? This isn't the end, right? And I looked down at my shoes, just being like, and they're like, oh god, oh no.
Yeah, I was waiting, and at first I was waiting just to process and be like, I'm not dreaming, that was it, right?
That's it?
That's what I saw, and then I was waiting to be like, there's not going to be an end credit scene, right? Even if there is, I don't want to see it, but there's not one, right? No, I'm just going to leave, so...
Oh god. I feel like if I was in like the opening night screening, I feel like there'd be more of a collective sigh after no end credit scene than Endgame was. But instead of a oh, it's more of a
Like, wow. Like, it just felt like a dump. So, the way I want to end off with this, unless you have any more further shot or thoughts about Dark Phoenix,
not particularly
is
no.
ranking the X-Men. Because I found that a lot of people seem to be doing that.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm going to just try and list off and we can order it. But you have...
Yeah, first one.
Yep, X-Men.
Released in 2000.
X2. Last Stand. And do you want to count Deadpool or no? Because I see it as separate, but it's still Fox X-Men, so...
It doesn't really impact much of anything with the X-Men film, so I'd say no.
So then X-Men Origins.
Then I think there's the Wolverine.
Oh, yeah, the Wolverine.
Well, I mean, that doesn't really have much impact.
No, but I think it counts.
It does count.
Especially because really this franchise, aside from the last two, are Wolverine films.
Basically, yeah.
Then you have First Class.
First Class, yeah.
Then it's Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past, yeah.
Days of Future. And you haven't seen Apocalypse, but I'll add it in for me.
Yeah, just for you.
And then Dark Phoenix. What else?
Well, there was Logan actually before that.
Yeah, I'm gonna add that here because I think we know.
But then, like, it is sort of not really canon, but whatever.
I think we still count it. Okay, so we have X-Men, X2, Last Stand, X-Men Origins, The Wolverine, First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix, Logan. Do you want to go worst to best or best to worst?
I'll do worst to best.
Okay, I'll do the same. Okay. So what is your worst?
My worst, of the ones I've seen, of course,
Yeah.
definitely Dark Phoenix is gotta be that one, because, yeah. Then, after that, I'd say it's probably Origins.
Origins, gotcha.
And then, I think the Wolverine I'd say next.
Okay.
Then after that, I would say Last Stand would probably be next up there.
Mm-hmm. Last Stand.
And let me see what I haven't put in so far. I think next I'll put in the first X-Men.
Gotcha. X-Men.
Then X-Men 2.
X2.
X2.
Well, see, that's a badass sounding name. X2.
X2. I mean, it was made in the 2000s, so it fits.
Yes. And it's like X-Men, X2, X-Men United, all the same movie, but I've seen cases that say all three of those for DVDs of it. And it's
basically.
Like, for a long time, I thought X2 and X-Men United was a different movie.
Well, I mean, it doesn't sound anything like Last Stand, so yeah. Then... Oh, God, let me think. I think First Class next.
First Class.
Then Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past.
And then Logan.
Logan.
I think that's everything.
Okay. So, we start pretty much the same. The worst for me is Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, that's
what dog shit.
That's the thing. It's like Origins is very bad and very silly and has terrible VFX, but like I mean, there's at least some semblance of a progression of story going on there, and interest in terms of like X-Men lore too.
And I felt some emotion during it, like the whole introduction of him being a lumberjack with the wife. I was on board with that. I was like, oh,
yeah,
he has a life, and it was cool seeing the military side of, him and Sabretooth going through all the wars together, and then him starting to be like, oh, I don't want to fight in wars. And Sabretooth being like, man, I love this war stuff.
Yeah, like it's goofy as fuck, but I mean it's still something. It's still something.
There are some redeemable things in it. And I heard someone say this, it's like, if that movie came out in the 80s, it would have been like regarded as the best superhero film.
Probably, yeah. Oh god, actually, yeah, that's a good. I could see that because definitely in its cheesiness, but like macho bro man thing going on there.
Yeah, and I think next I'm gonna put Last Stand actually.
Ah, gotcha.
Because so much better than Dark Phoenix. But in terms there are some really good movies in here that I enjoy. It's just not great. Stand.
Yeah.
Then I'll put the Wolverine.
Some of my enjoyment of Last Stand is kind of ironic because there's some terrible moments, but there's also legitimately amazing moments there too. It's like a weird mishmash for me.
And there are some moments that I think are good, but I kind of just disagree with. Like the whole Mystique thing in that movie. I was like, I'm not a big fan of that, but I get why they did it. Is that I get why they did that thing that exists for that movie that doesn't for Dark Phoenix.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. What are your thoughts on Wolverine?
I think it's decent. It just has some things I wasn't a big fan of, but overall, I think it's fine.
Okay, I legit don't remember a single thing about it.
Oh, okay.
I remember the train fight being fun, but I don't remember. I remember there's a terrible twist, but I don't remember what it was.
There is. It's the big bad of the whole movie is the World War II Japanese guy.
Yeah, the one they saves in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, I got adamantium powers."
Which I just hated that adamantium was such a big thing, and that you have adamantium, he has adamantium, fight, and that's the film. And to be fair, I thought Viper was a lame villain in that movie, the poison spit lady.
Yeah, there's a poison spit lady in that movie.
Yeah, it was very forgettable. But it's she was a comic book villain. It's oh, they got Viper, and it's Viper versus Wolverine though, is
yeah,
it just wasn't interesting.
Yeah,
but there are some really good character things that, especially when you pair it up with Logan, creates a really nice arc.
Yeah. I'd have to probably look back at it again, but I just can't remember.
A lot of people like X2 better than X-Men. I guess maybe it's I haven't seen them in a while, but I actually really like X-Men, so I'm going to go X2 and then X-Men.
Again, I haven't seen these films in a while, so I'm just doing it based off my own memories.
And then I'm going to go Days of Future Past, First Class, and then of course Logan.
Yeah.
What an incredible film.
That's great. We both have the same bottom and top choice.
Yeah, and funny enough, they came out back to back.
What an interesting time.
But anyway, so to read off your list, from worst to best is Dark Phoenix, Origins, The Wolverine, Last Stand, X-Men, X2, First Class, Days of Future Past, Logan. And mine from worst to best is Dark Phoenix, Origins, Last Stand, The Wolverine, X2, X-Men, Days of Future Past, First Class, Logan.
Yeah.
So pretty similar, honestly.
Yeah,
just a few little swaps, but it's not anywhere top to bottom flopped. It's all this one for this one kind of a thing.
Basically, just kind of within the same sort of numbers, just swapping areas.
Yeah. So I think that's really all I have to say.
Yeah.
Any last notes for Dark Phoenix?
Don't watch it.
It's awful. I saw it mainly because I knew that I'd want to do this video for it. And just, man, the ability of just, knowing that level of dog shit is in theaters.
And it's funny because, honestly, it's not doing well financially either.
Yeah.
It's making the same amount as Blade Runner did in its theatrical run, which is so funny to me.
But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you are an unfortunate soul who has seen Dark Phoenix, let us know in the comments below what you thought of it. And
tell us your horror stories.
Yep, and I'm glad that you made it through and you were alive. But with that said, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay classy. Later. Ooh, woo.
Wow.
And now that awkward period where we just cut.
We should create a support group for people who have seen Dark Phoenix.
Oh, that would be awesome. Could you just imagine how great that would be?